Yes.
How soon do you expect regular in-person meetings to take place?
I was talking with Ed about that just yesterday, hoping for July. It all depends on when the governor lets us have up to 50 people at a meeting.
Okay.
Unless there's a second wave.
Don't say that.
Yeah, right, Rob.
Okay. So this is the June meeting of the Thomaston Planning and Zoning Commission. Seated for tonight's meeting will be Joe Hartz, Tom Mueller, Bill Guerrera, Elizabeth Jamison, and myself, Ralph Salone. On standby, we have Brian Davis. If somebody drops out, he's our alternate. We'll seat him.
There is a chat here from Elizabeth. Sorry to interrupt you. And
Yeah, I'm
she's
looking
saying-
at it. Elizabeth, you're not muted on my end. It says that I can only ask you to unmute. There you
Oh,
go.
that says you're unmuted. Say a few syllables.
Is that through my phone? Okay.
Oh yeah, we can hear it. We can hear you now.
Okay.
We can see you.
Everything was off when I logged in. I don't know. Sorry.
All right. Stacy, the fact that the link on the original agenda was incorrect, does that have any effect on whether this is a good meeting or not?
It is perfectly fine. The agenda was revised and resubmitted to Kathy, and it was changed on our website.
Okay,
Since the content of the agenda is the same, it was only how to get here, and since people did not need to know how to actually get here before the meeting, we're okay.
okay. So first on our agenda tonight is public hearings. And we have continued from the May 6th meeting, a public hearing on a special permit application number 2019-12-26-01 for section 21.10 for an accessory apartment at 235 Smith Road in a residential zone. And the applicant had requested that we continue to our July 1st meeting. Can I have a motion to continue that?
Before that, Ralph, how long can the applicant request?
I think
Briefly, if you're
July
not-
1st is the last one, right?
I can explain in just a moment, but if you are not speaking, if I could ask you to mute, otherwise we get a lot of background feedback and noise. She had both the ordinary continuance time that anybody would have had when the whole COVID-19 thing started. There was an executive order that permitted up to 90 days additional to that continuance time. So I did out the math and I gave it to her, and she knows that one way or the other, this has to be decided before September 11th. So that's actually how long she has, believe it or not.
She's kind of close though, because you stop and think, you know, if she comes to present something and we ask for clarification, that only gives her the August meeting, and then we're going to have to vote on it on our September meeting.
To a certain extent, she's caught between a rock and a hard place here somewhat. She's in the middle of a foreclosure, and she does have someone who's interested in purchasing the property. She's waiting on certain things from her mortgage company before she's attempting a short sale. And before all of that happens or can happen, she's waiting on stuff from her mortgage company. She thought things were going to be going forward by a certain point in time. Unfortunately, then the mortgage company sent her back to square one again. So she's kind of caught in a loop here. The people who are potentially interested in purchasing the home do want to have this accessory apartment approval in place. So that's why she's continuing to try with this.
All right. So that being said, Somebody want to make a motion to continue that to our July meeting?
Tom Mueller, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Joe Hart, second.
Thanks. We'll do a roll call vote. Joe Hartz, how do you vote?
Joe Hart votes aye.
Tom Mueller, how do you vote?
Tom Mueller, aye.
Bill Guerrera, how do you vote?
Bill Guerra, aye.
Elizabeth Jamison, how do you vote?
Elizabeth Jamison, aye.
And Ralph Salone also votes aye, so the motion carries unanimously. Next on our public hearing docket is a special permit for, that has the same number and as the previous one per section 21.4 for home occupation for a mobile hairstyling office at 235 Smith Road in a residential zone. And the applicant has also asked to continue that to July 1st. Same applicant, same application, same address. So can I have a motion to continue that one too, please?
Tom Mueller, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Elizabeth Jamison, second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, never mind.
Aye.
Wait, I got to do the roll call vote. Joe Hartz, how do you vote?
Joe Hart's aye.
Tom Mueller, how do you vote?
Tom Mueller, aye.
Bill Guerrera, how do you vote?
Bill Guerra, aye.
Elizabeth Jamison, how do you vote?
Elizabeth Jamison, aye.
And Ralph Salone also votes aye, so the motion carries unanimously. Next is a tabled public hearing on a zoning map amendment for expansion of the downtown development district. That is actually pending some text amendments on our sign regulations. When,
Which is next up.
okay. So we're gonna skip that, and now we have public hearing number 4A, a public hearing on text amendment to section 2 definitions and 15 amendments of the town of Thomaston zoning regulations. And I was reading off your screen.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. And 4B, discussion and possible action on text amendment to section 2 definitions and 15 amendments to the town of Thomaston zoning regulations. All right, Stacy, you want to first of all, the other day you had sent out the part about the change to the front yard definition,
Yes,
And-
this reflects that.
and that was okay by me. I don't know what kind of feedback you got from everyone else.
You are the only one.
Oh, okay. So Stacy, why don't you quickly walk us through this document so everybody's up to speed?
Okay, yeah, well, it was 2 months ago, which the way things have been lately is ancient history. In a nutshell, there's renumbering so that the definitions can be in alphabetical order. They weren't all in alphabetical order. Attorney Byrne made some suggestions, and so they're included in here as well, specifically 2.7, the definition of a building. Using the same word as you're defining to define itself is not a great definition, so he wanted us to change that to structure. So that's what that is. Let's see. This was really prompted, if you'll recall, over last summer, there was a situation with a shed roof having been built on at the back of a commercial building, and there was some debate as to where the front yard, where the side yards, where the rear yards were. And unfortunately, our definitions didn't really help. So that prompted this. I had gone through several different towns to see what they had, and that's what we came up with. A lot of this is taken from Bristol. I had spoken with Bob Flanagan a little bit, and that's where some of these came from. Most of them came from. So that's where all these lot related definitions largely came from. In red is new. Black crossed out is what we have that I'm proposing we consider removing.
Drop. Yeah.
Yep. And if it's in black italics, like this one right here, it's, your definition is remaining the same as previous. There's also a couple other smaller items that have come up along the way, like for instance, not having a definition for an outdoor wood furnace. So that's where this came from. This is taken directly from the DEEP. This is their definition, so we're just exactly mimicking them.
Back up.
Yep.
Stop. So, 234, the outdoor wood fired boiler, and 239 recreational vehicle.
Yep.
Instead of having the words in there, even though they mirror the state's definition, I think it would be better just to reference the state definition. You follow me? Outdoor wood fired boiler is an accessory structure that is defined in Connecticut general statutes, blah, blah, blah.
I can probably put that in there, or as may be amended from time to time, blah, blah, blah type of thing. But my thought was it was good to have it actually in here so people can see what that is and not have to make the next leap to look elsewhere for it.
The problem is if the state changes the definition, then we're not in lockstep with them anymore.
Well, that's why if we want to maybe consider putting in something or as may be amended. We can ask if you want. Attorney Byrne isn't going to be on tonight, so I can ask him if he thinks there's a pro or con to doing it either way. I mean, if you wanted to go, or were you considering going ahead adopting anything tonight? We could just adopt it without this and get it in the next go round if you'd like.
Well, that one and the recreational vehicle thing, because is there also a commercial vehicle definition?
We didn't get
in here?
that, wasn't in here. That wasn't part of this. That was
So-
on the list of things to do, but it wasn't included in this round.
So, and you know what kind of trouble we ran into with that. So
Yes.
maybe instead of just calling out recreational vehicle, maybe you put vehicle types as defined under Connecticut general statute, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so maybe then would you like that we just pull out? Because I hadn't proposed anything with relation to the vehicles, at least in this round. So if the commission would like, we can pull out the wood-fired boiler and the RVs and everything can be caught up in the next round after a chat with Attorney Byrne as to how properly to get that in the definitions. The reference to the state definition.
Yeah, is the and in this one, I know we didn't go through the whole thing yet, but is the part about the sign stuff
Yes.
being waived, is that in here for the town?
Towards the bottom. Yep.
I
I
really,
mean, how much excruciating detail do you want me to go through with this? I can fast forward us. I just wanted to make sure you guys saw everything because I know it's
Well-
been a couple months.
well, I'd like to, if we could come to an agreement, I'd like to act on at least that part of it tonight. I hate to have to hold a whole nother series of public hearings just for a couple of little odds
Well,
and ends.
In fairness, Pat and I have been keeping a list of things, so I don't think you're going to be done after this one. I'm fairly certain we're going to, because we still have, for instance, the whole Section 8 with the signs. We have some other things that are on the list that are escaping me right now.
All right, well,
Site plan, I think. So
yeah.
what I'm saying is we can, just as it was kind of, some of these definition tweaks were thrown in with this round where the larger issue was dealing with text amendment language. These subsequent tweaks can be thrown in with the next larger issue as well, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, all right. So let's keep
Okay.
trudging through here then.
Okay. Self-service storage facility was another definition we didn't have that seemed prudent to get in because we do have so many of them being proposed of late. So that's where that is, that definition came from. And then here's specifically the yard definitions that we were talking about. And the one that you guys specifically had concerns with was front yard. When we discussed these back in April, the consensus was that we wanted some information regarding the front yard being on the street, you know, linked to what the assessor said the street address was.
Right, and then
So-
that becomes the reference point for the other three parts
Yes.
of the yard.
So with that in mind, what's underlined here is what I added in. A front yard abuts the street on which the property is addressed according to the Town of Thomaston Assessor's Office. So the way it's worded hopefully makes it clear, like Ralph said, that it's kind of anchoring the front yard to this location, but additionally, if there's corner lots, etc., it's at least making clear, okay, here's one of the front yards you're dealing with.
So I'm good with things the way they stand. Does anybody else want to comment?
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it too. I have no changes.
I'm fine.
So I see that there is somebody from the public besides us logged in here, and this is a public hearing. There's on my screen, it's showing up as somebody called Megan.
That's Marty Egan. our
Oh, Margie
Recreation
Egan.
Director.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? This is a public hearing, so let me make a call for public comment. And you probably want to unmute Marty in case he wants to say anything.
He is unmuted on my end. He would have
Oh,
to
okay.
unmute himself. Doesn't appear we have any comments.
Hold on a second.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not here on public comment. I work for the town of Thomaston. I'm here on a separate subject.
All right, but since you are here, I got to double check and make sure you don't have any comments on this.
No, I don't. I was
Okay.
asked to come here. Thank you.
Okay, so there being no public comment, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Can I just ask one question? Elizabeth
Sure.
Jameson.
That was your one.
On the section, on the section we want to remove, if we vote on this tonight, would we have to renumber 2.34, or would we put the
Yeah,
word
that's a
in with
minor
no
change.
definite? So if we make a motion, we have to, do we have to explain
would
that
just
if we
say,
vote on it
yeah.
tonight? It needs to be renumbered and.
yeah, you would just
It would be
simply say
removed.
that you vote to adopt the amendments as presented with the exception of not including outdoor wood-fired boiler at this time. And then.
Well, I
we
would
can-
I would leave it in there for now as is.
Okay, okay,
At least there's something there.
okay.
And then,
Yeah, I guess that's what I was wondering, how you
Yeah.
how you guys. go
I think the
about it.
prudent thing to do would be to leave it in there as is for now and then,
Okay.
address changes later.
Okay.
Anybody else have
then-
any comments?
Just briefly, these are the changes with regard to text amendments, and the thing that you were most specifically interested in is this part here. The requirements of this section shall pertain to all petitions except for those where the applicant is the Town of Thomaston Planning and Zoning Commission. And that's what would enable us to finally move ahead with the Downtown Development District application.
Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion to close the public hearing?
Tom Mueller, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Joe Hart's will second.
Thank you. Elizabeth Jamieson, how do you vote on the motion?
Elizabeth Jamieson, aye.
Joe Hartz, how do you vote on the motion?
Joe Hart's aye.
Tom Mueller, how do you vote on the motion?
Tom Mueller, aye.
Bill Guerrera, how do you vote on the motion? Bill Guerrera, your microphone is muted.
Yep.
There you
Bill
go.
Guerrero, aye.
Thank you. Ralph Sloan also votes aye, so the motion passes unanimously. All right, excuse me. All right, next on our agenda, we have no new public hearings opening. We'll move into our regular meeting, so we have approval of the minutes from May 3rd of 2020.
Do-
Mr.
do
Chairman,
we
if I
want
could
that?
just,
Oh, hold on a second. Go ahead, Stacy.
no, I think Tom was saying the same thing. In terms of, I think we kind of skipped over 4B, discussion and possible action on that amendment.
Oh,
Or didn't-
geez. Sorry.
No problem.
It's tough not being there with all the papers in front of me.
I know. I know.
So, discussion and possible action on the text amendments. Does anybody want to discuss them any further? Remember, no new information can be introduced since we closed the public hearing. Or would everyone rather we just voted on them at this time?
I think we should just vote.
All right, if everybody's in agreement with that, I'm open to someone making a motion to vote on the text amendments one way or another, to accept or reject.
If you were to vote to adopt them, you would want to find that they were in conformance with the Plan of Conservation and Development, and you would want them to be effective the day after the date of publication in a newspaper having substantial circulation in the town of Thomaston.
Sounds good to me. Tom Mueller, so moved.
Is there a second on the motion?
Liz Jamieson, I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion?
Did that address the wood-fired boiler based on our, does that
Well,
cover
if
that? The
you,
motion?
I think the discussion was to include it as it is right now with an eye towards possibly tweaking it in future to say something.
Oh, okay, leave the exact text. Okay, I thought
Yeah.
you meant leave the word without the whole, okay. Thanks for clarifying.
No problem.
That's
Let's see. Bill Guerrera, how do you vote on the motion to accept the proposed text amendments?
Yeah, Bill Guerrero accepts.
Elizabeth Jamieson, how do you vote?
Elizabeth Jamieson, aye.
Tom Mueller, how do you vote?
Tom Mueller, aye.
And Joe Hartz, how do you vote?
Joe Hart's aye.
And Ralph Sloan also votes aye. So that that motion carries unanimously. Now, we'll move to approval of the, in here it says May 3rd minutes, but it was actually May 6th.
May 6th, yeah.
Oh, my typo, my bad.
So, I don't know if everyone's had a chance to read through them. Let's take a moment to read through them.
I'm not sure what, oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. I'm sorry, having technical difficulties back here. Okay.
Well, I'm reading them locally from the
Okay.
email that you sent. I don't see anything that needs to be corrected.
I have one minor correction.
Go ahead.
Top of page 2, Stacy confirmed that they do meet the requirement instead
Oh,
of required.
okay. Yeah.
That's the only thing I saw.
So does somebody want to make a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
Tom Mueller, I make a motion to accept the minutes of the May 6th meeting as amended.
Is there a second to that motion?
Joe Hart, second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All right, Elizabeth Jamison, how do you vote on the motion?
Elizabeth Jamison, aye.
Joe Hartz, how do you vote on the motion?
Joe Hart's aye.
Tom Mueller, how do you vote on the motion?
Tom Mueller, aye.
Bill Guerrera, how do you vote on the motion?
Bill Guerrera, aye.
And Ralph Salone also votes aye, so that motion carries unanimously. And then next we have the meeting minutes from our special meeting on May 18th.
I did not see anything that needed to be corrected in those minutes.
I don't either. So if anybody wants to make a motion to accept those as submitted,
Tom Mueller, I make a motion to accept the minutes of the May 18th meeting as submitted.
is there a second to the motion?
Elizabeth Jamison, second.
Is there, thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right. Bill Guerrera, how do you vote on the motion?
Bill Guerrera, aye.
Elizabeth Jamison, how do you vote on the motion?
Elizabeth Jamison, aye.
Tom Mueller, how do you vote on the motion?
Tom Mueller, aye.
Joe Hartz, how do you vote on the motion?
Joe Hart's aye.
And Ralph Salone also votes aye, so that motion also passes unanimously. Just give me a moment to clean some of the open windows I have here so I can get back in the groove. All right, next, discussion of draft regulation amendments, motor vehicle signs, solar, food trucks. I mean, solar and food trucks. Anything new on that, Stacy? Stacy, you're muted.
I can't hear.
No, that's me. Sorry. I had sent them around a while ago. I hadn't resent them around for this meeting, but we can discuss them if you'd like. I did not know, we do have Marty here on another issue. I didn't know if you wanted perhaps to
Oh, that's a
add
good
him on.
idea. We can, since this is not a special meeting, we can add him to the agenda. Would somebody make a motion, please, to add Marty Egan on the agenda for an informal discussion related to Parks and Recs at this point in the agenda?
Tom Mueller, so moved.
Thank you. Second, is there a second on the motion?
Joe Hart, second.
Thanks, Joe. Let's see. Bill Guerrera, how do you vote on the motion?
Bill Guerrera, aye.
Elizabeth Jamison, how do you vote on the motion?
Elizabeth Jamison, aye.
Joe Hartz, how do you vote on the motion?
Joe Hart's aye.
Tom Mueller, how do you vote on the motion?
Tom Mueller, aye.
And Ralph Salone also votes aye. Whose dog is that?
Dog votes aye as well.
So that the motion carries unanimously.
Okay.
It's a good thing I got the headphones on. All my cats would be freaked out. All right, Marty, are you in?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So go ahead, Marty. Why don't you just tell us what you'd like to talk about?
Oh, I will. I appreciate you adding me to the agenda tonight at short notice. Met with the Board of Selectmen last night over an idea that some residents from Thomaston have, specifically Greg Blasco, Josh Russman, and a third gentleman that are very interested in mountain biking in Thomaston. So the concept is this: Northfield Dam has between 20 and 30 miles of bikeable trails that they've been clearing with the permission of the Army Corps of Engineers at Northfield Dam. They are looking for an access point from Thomaston to reach those trails. The nearest point that we can find in Thomaston comes out of Highwood Farms, and it includes the new access road that has been put in by the town for the sewer department to access the pump station. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with either side of the pump station. There was an old road that accessed that. The town has put a new one in, which would be to the left of that side. These gentlemen would like, their proposal is to get an access point from Thomaston where people in Thomaston can reach all of those bike trails in Northfield Dam. I spoke with the gentleman from Army Corps of Engineers. He is willing to provide us a letter that will say they are okay with Thomaston people accessing that property, even when their gates are closed, even after hours. We're yet to receive that letter, but it inherently is supposed to be coming. The problem is that currently the access road has a chain across it, says no trespassing. They're looking for access onto a short stretch of that property that will go down through an open field and within 300 yards hit Northfield's property and allow access to the town to reach all of those trails up in the Northfield Dam. The pictures that Stacy's shown is a couple of the one house that is near that access road. We had some concerns, how would neighbors feel about it? This is the one house that's there. It's pretty much covered by pine trees and heavy growth. This picture is the access road with the no trespassing sign. They need to be able to go around the left side of it and straight down that open area that you can see with the one tiny pine tree in it. Once
So when you say
it
when you
drops
say they
out,
need to go around it, are you talking about they're gonna walk in on foot?
they're going to ride bicycles on it. This is not a motorcycle trail. This is a pedaled bike, mountain bike trail. That's it. But they need to have access through this roadway that says no trespassing, straight through that open field with the small pine tree in it. And once they go over the embankment, within 300 yards, they'll be on Northfield's property. And that's what they're looking to do, as opposed to driving to Knife Shop or all the way to Northfield Dam and coming back. I spoke with Richie Tingle. I knew it would be a concern for him. He needs to have access to that access road. Can't have people parking in front of it. He's fine with it as long as cars don't park in front of it. So I talked to the guys involved. Going to get some signage there. Can't have cars parked in front of it. We're going to redirect them up into the baseball field, the soccer field, Highwood Farms parking area for them to park, unload their bikes if necessary. Some of these people, the guys that I mentioned, you actually live in a neighborhood. They actually just want access to drive out of their house at this point and be able to access that trail and do that.
So if somebody didn't live in the neighborhood, if
Yes.
they came from further away and had to drive there, if they parked in the parking lot for the ball fields
Yes.
and they were going to ride their bike around the corner, roughly how far is that? Is that a quarter mile,
Tenth of a
100
mile.
yards? How many?
A tenth of a mile, possibly.
So not really anything that's going to be oh, I can't think of the word. a hardship on anyone.
I don't think so. And I was very clear with these gentlemen, and they're all really good guys from Thomaston. You may or may not know some of them. They're really good guys. They certainly don't mean any harm in any way. I told them, you can't reach a situation where people now start parking cars in front of people's houses. Not going to park in front of that chain gate, nothing like that. Got to be redirected to that upper parking lot near the baseball field. That's where you park, you disembark your bike, you ride it. You'd go out to the right of the soccer field, down the hill, and you got to make that one short stretch past that gate and 300 yards into the Northfield property. So the concept is, you know, people would be able to bike one direction or the other and have an access point for their car, or for them to even come out of Highwood Farms. In concept, they're actually clearing all the property at Northfield Dam. There's some existing trails there that are slightly overgrown. These three guys and their kids have been clearing all these trails by themselves, with the permission of Army Corps of Engineers. And now they're just looking to grab 300 yards in Thomaston to be able to access it in both directions, so that people in Thomaston don't have to drive all the way to Northfield Dam, park their car, and come in the other direction, and then essentially have to turn around and go all the way back. I think they'd like to have a car on either end. It seems like a pretty easy thing in concept, but obviously it requires some permission from the town.
So Tom, this has the potential to affect you more than anyone else. What are your thoughts?
As long as they don't block access to the pump station, I don't think anybody on the WPCA would have a problem with it.
And Liz, what are your feelings?
I don't see a problem. I just didn't know if, not knowing that area well, do you think there has to be like signs put up to direct people for that?
There would, and that's our concept is, if it's approved by your board, ultimately a board of selectmen, and I was there last night, and in concept, they were okay with it pending your approval, was the idea that where the no trespassing sign is, we would post signs that obviously it's not allowed to park there, and we would redirect them to a parking area up at the baseball field, and then we would erect signs up there. Signs for a mountain biking trail would be up here to park to, and that's the concept at this point.
And that chain would stay in place, right?
It would. We certainly wouldn't open that up to the public. I know Tom wouldn't want that. Richie wouldn't want that. Absolutely. But what they are looking for is some permission to go past the no trespassing sign. And I think talking with them, we agreed that the sign would indicate pedal bikes only. We are not looking to turn this into a motorcycle trail like behind Thomaston Dam or anything like that. Now, they are backed by a mountain biking organization in the United States that is actually going to provide insurance to the town of Thomaston up front for any potential injuries that's there. Now, I've talked with Ed. He wants to work, make sure the liability limits are what the town would ask for. He's got to talk to Bill Guerrero about that and provide that up front, and then the town's insurance would be secondary to that. So it seems like a good concept, and it's a great open space type thing. It also can include people that will hike it. They say it's very common to have these single bike trails with hikers, and they generally get along. If you see a hiker coming, they get off with their bike, they let a mom and her daughter come by, they jump back on, and they do their thing. So it seems like a good concept for everybody. And to include 20 to 30 miles of trails between Thomaston and Northfield behind the dam seems like a great opportunity for a lot of people. Yeah. So I definitely try to help these guys doing that. But obviously we have to get through a couple of hurdles with some board.
Hey, Marty, Bill Guerrero. Hey, good evening. So Marty, you may have mentioned this, but I didn't hear. Who is going to maintain and own this right of way?
They actually are maintaining it themselves, and it's part of the organization.
Who is they, Marty? Who is they?
They is being these Thomaston people that I mentioned. They're actually clearing it themselves. We're not looking for the town of Thomaston to clear it. We're not asking the highway department to clear it. These are going to be volunteers, Thomaston residents at this point, of the three of them, they have been clearing all the trails in Northfield, and they're going to
Wow.
clear this final 300 yards into Thomaston with approval.
Wow. So this is land, this is private land, Marty, of the adjoining property owners. Is that correct?
I would say that's not true. I would say it's town of Thomaston land that adjoins the Army Corps of Engineers property at the north.
Oh, all right. So this is the, I'm sorry, Marty. So this is the town of,
That's right. This is town property.
town property. Thank you, Marty.
There's
Okay.
one
Okay.
resident just to the left of it. And at
Okay.
last night's meeting, Ed felt like perhaps Stacy would bring those neighbors into it to make sure that they were okay, informing them of what might happen there. I don't know if that's required considering it's town property,
Okay.
but that's what Ed's thought was last night is, let's get a feeling of what I honestly, I'd say there's one neighbor, and I sent you guys the two pictures there. Their house is so heavily wooded. I can't imagine how 3 bikes a day or 5 bikes a day might impact their lifestyle. I don't see
Yeah,
it, but
yeah. So Marty, sorry, I'm just getting ahead of myself maybe.
Yep.
So it's land owned by the town,
that's correct.
maintained by volunteers under your direction, Marty?
That, yeah, essentially, correct, and under an insurance policy by a mountain biking organization. So should somebody become injured on the property or them, they would at least take the first responsibility. Of course,
Yeah,
Bill, I would
okay.
always defer to you in terms of liability and limits. I mean, that's your expertise. So I would be happy to provide you with what their liability limits are. And if you feel
And that's all good, Marty.
Well, then-
It's pretty typical, Marty, other towns and how they handle their recreation, whether it be BMX or mountain biking or, other types of, uses that are consistent with this. So, it's all good. I don't have any
just so-
problems with it.
Yeah.
Could you mouse over the proposed path again quickly? The path you're proposing to start and the
Marty, the path was,
Yep, so if you can move it up just a little bit, Stacy. The other direction, actually, I'm sorry. Kind of lost it now.
is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, let me see if I can pick it up here. Oh, okay, stop right there.
Okay.
Can you guys see the one house that's in the picture?
Yes. Is it lot 11?
Slightly above it is a couple of small ponds.
Yep,
If you can see where the number 60 is,
yep.
and you follow it straight down, not off above, but straight down, that's the small area that they're looking to access. When they get past the end of the screen, it drops down and they'll be onto Northfield property very quickly.
Yeah, if you can see,
That's really all they're looking for is,
this large property right here is Northfield Dam.
yeah, so just above that last house, you can see there's an open area of grass. That's all they're looking for.
Mhm.
And as Marty indicated, this was brought up at the Board of Selectmen meeting last night, and the feeling was generally fine with it, but knowing that it's town property, knowing that your board traditionally looks at uses of town property as to whether or not they adhere to the plan of conservation and development, knowing that this was a situation where the open space use was occurring in a residential neighborhood and the parking was right there. I talked with Attorney Byrne. He did not feel this rose to the level of a full-fledged 824 review, but more of an informal discussion with you guys just to make you aware of it and bring to Marty's attention anything that you might have a concern with regard to this. And that's exactly what the Board of Selectmen was looking for too, just wanting to make sure you guys were okay. I would add, even though it's not an 824, that I went through the plan of conservation and it very clearly calls out as something to be sought for is linkages of recreational properties in this manner.
So Joe Hartz, I didn't get a chance to ask you, what
Thank
are
you,
your
Rob.
feelings on this?
Where is the soccer field as related to that baseball field? Is that right adjacent to it, the same field?
It is, yep.
Okay, so it's the left side of the soccer field. And where does the town pump station come into play? Because what you're asking for is nothing.
Pump stations up here.
So they would go down that red path and then they would pick up.
So
I don't see how they're related.
after the town put in the access road, there's now 2 ways to get to the pump station. And Stacy, can you get a picture of the pump station?
Yep.
So Joe, they had 2 ways to access this property. And if you can move the pump station slightly to the right, Stacy, if you could, my right, if you will. If there's an access road that comes down by that, Joe, and if they came down this road, they would have to build a wooden bridge to cross a big ravine to get to the same property. If they, to me, that brings in building inspector, all kinds of additional problems. If they can reach it from the other end of the access road, it's a straight shot through a grass field. So to me, it was a much easier alternative.
Okay.
To do
that. Thank you. Otherwise, I think it's a wonderful idea, and I know it does align with our plan of conservation and development, and tacking on an asset that we could never afford, which is the Northfield Dam project. So I do like it.
I agree. I couldn't believe it to be a more positive thing to get people hiking and biking through a 300-yard access point that will give us 20 miles to 30 miles of hiking and biking trails in Northfield. Seems like a home run to me.
Right.
So Brian Davis, what are your thoughts? You're muted.
I think it's fine. I think, I know the area slightly. As long as the neighbors have no issues, which that would be the only takeaway was, they can be protective of their area there sometimes.
Well, we could hold a public hearing and see if the neighbors.
I don't think it is town property, and we're just the town. If the town gives permission to use it, why not? And there's already athletic fields there, and there's people coming there on a regular basis when those events are going on.
So Marty, I think the consensus of the commission is that, this is a good idea. And I don't really see where the Planning and Zoning Commission needs to take any official action. The only thing I would say is that I would ask you to work with Stacy to get the proper signage, like, like where that no trespassing sign was, parking at ball fields only or something like that. Or maybe down where we're looking at now, where that lot 11 is, same thing, parking at ball fields only or something.
Yep. I agree. That's my biggest concern. And I have a great relationship with Rich Stingle and Tom, and I wouldn't want impact on the importance of their job at all. And that's what I've been stressing to these guys. No way can anybody park in front of this chain, down by the corner. I don't want an impact to neighbors. It's got to happen the right way up in those parking lots up above.
Yeah. So unless anybody thinks differently, I don't think the commission needs to take any official action. Like I said, I'll just repeat, just work with Stacy to get the proper signage put up.
I have a question.
Yeah, could I just, oh, I'm sorry.
Can they park at the dam and access the trails, or has that been told now? The dam side, because there's obviously parking lots in the Northfield Dam areas as well. So.
Yes, and that's what they've been currently doing. So, what they're saying is like people from Thomaston, even if you live at Highwood Farms, have to drive all the way around up 254 to Northfield.
Yes.
Ride the trails, and then can't even go to their own house, even though it's only hundreds of yards away. They have to go all the way back, load up their bike, and come back.
And so it's just another another access into.
It really is. It's like a complete access from Northfield to Thomaston and Thomaston to Northfield. So whichever end you park your car on or whichever end you live on, you can actually do all the trails and end up back where you live or where your car is.
So I guess my question has been answered, but to clarify, Highwood Farms is not the only parking for the trail system.
It is not. There are also access points from the Northfield side.
Liz, you had a question?
Yeah, no, just piggybacking off of my first comment on signs. While I agree there should be the signs at critical points for safety and direction, I would hate to see 100 signs too. So like Ralph said, working with Stacy. That's it.
So Marty, I guess you're all set then, right? If this does end up growing into a bigger thing where you're actually going to be creating new parking lots or stuff like that, then I think you probably have to come back before us again. But I think for now, as far as the Planning and Zoning Commission is concerned, have a good time.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time. And I appreciate putting me up on the agenda and saving a little bit of time for that. I appreciate it.
Very
Take
good.
care.
Well, have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Moving right along.
To our regular meeting agenda, item number 2, discussion of draft reg amendments, motor vehicles, signs, solar, food trucks, etc. Stace, is that something we can get queued up to
For next time, sure,
have a draft for next time?
absolutely. The
Um,
sign one is done. Solar is most of the way done. And we can, by next time, I think we should. Yeah.
Okay. And no old business. How about that?
Yeah, I know.
Any new business?
That was the one and only thing, the discussion with Marty.
Communications, reports of officer, staff, and committee.
I don't have a full written report, but just so you guys know, the amendment that you passed, we have worked thus far with 2 restaurants, and one on East Main Street, and
Which two?
Krabby
Gotta tell
House,
me. Yeah.
Krabby House, and one, Black Rock Tavern. We went out, the building official, me, the fire marshal, and Bob Smith from Torrington area came later, and we went to each one so that they knew what they needed in terms of being ready for when restaurants could reopen. So that went through. I have had an informal discussion with JDT's Brick House. They have a little bit of a complicating factor because a lot of their front yard area is technically state. So there's another issue that they'd have in there. So they're still kind of mulling over what they want to do. They had expressed some interest in possibly doing an outdoor dining scenario in the parking area, but that kind of was a second level to it. So they're
Well, if they
contemplating.
can get a letter from Seaborn and Malley saying that they have permission to use that parking lot, that would take care of all those issues, wouldn't it?
It would, and I think that they, because I had spoken with George Seaborn, and I think that preliminarily, in theory, the devil's in the details, they weren't necessarily closed off to it, but the owners of JDTs were really actually hoping to do it to the front of the building. So that's where the holdup is. My understanding, I got lunch from there just last Friday. My understanding is that they're still kind of weighing what they want to do. They are still doing their takeout business right now too, but they're contemplating. I have heard that Tremonti and Patty's Place may be looking to do something as well, but I haven't heard from them yet.
Casey,
Anything from like Mona Lisa Pizza or Senior Ponchos, or is it still Trumpets, or did the name change? Goose and Gander?
No, some of the restaurants apparently are opting to just stick with the takeout.
Well,
And that's what
or
they're doing.
Rosie's. I
That's
would have thought Rosie's would have.
They
tried
have,
doing
they
so.
have a platform.
Well, they have quite a large deck out back already. So,
Tremonti's has got tables set out on the sidewalk.
Yes, they
They're
do.
serving people outside.
And Senior Ponchos has their deck already.
Chow has people eating outside.
Chow already had, did need to chat with them briefly, or at least the fire marshal did. Just making sure that the distances were correct. And there were one or two people, facilities that, already had a place outdoors set up and ready to go. And it was really more just, not so much for me, but for the fire marshal and for Torrington area, is everything at the distances it's supposed to be. But like I said, there were the 3 I've been actively talking with, and the 1 or 2 that were had talked with somebody else in town hall and were referred to talk to me, but I haven't heard from them yet.
Okay, well, I'm
So
glad
where
at
are
least
they-
somebody's taking advantage of it.
Are they allowed I'm not sure, I'm not 100% clear on that guideline. Are they at a 50% capacity as of last week or 25%? Do we have an idea?
It was 50.
Thought I knew, but I don't remember.
Yeah. There was actually a little bit of confusion in terms of how the guidance was written. And there were a lot of webinars on this and other issues related to it. My understanding is that it is 50% capacity of whatever your outdoor area is. So if whatever the capacity is determined for that size outdoor area, it's 50% of that.
Okay.
And Ralph, I just wanted to say trumpets is about 5 iterations ago.
I don't get out much, Joe.
Oh, you missed that one by a mile.
Yeah, hey, Joe.
Yeah, I
Thank
was
you,
kind
Joe.
of sitting here wondering what that was.
Ralph, back in the
watched
day,
pictures in high school
Ralph,
of
back in the day, we used to have drinks after the facility meeting over at Trumpets. That stopped.
All right, anything else on communications?
Um,
I'm along those lines. Someone asked about our meetings, when we could go in person. I didn't hear the answers
oh, sure.
at the beginning.
The long and short of
Next
it,
month?
I'm hoping. It's kind of depends on when the governor says it's okay to have meetings with attendance up to 50. As of right now, meetings up to 10 are again permitted, but not up to 50. So the hope is maybe by July, that'll happen,
Okay.
But it really depends on what happens between now and then, too.
Exactly.
I mean, things could get a lot better, things could get a lot worse. We don't know.
Yeah. We had, just so you're all aware, we had originally attempted a partial reopening of the town hall. That did not go so well, so that was aborted by noon on Monday.
It did not go so well in what respect?
We had 35 people come in, no appointments, no
Crowded.
mask,
Oh.
Mm.
some without masks.
That's what I'm not looking forward to anywhere. Once things open, I will still be home because I don't want to deal with that.
We had, I mean, if you came into town hall now, you'd see that there's bright orange tape all along the carpets directing the flow of traffic in one direction. People were not paying attention to that. 1 or 2 people, certainly not all, but 1 or 2 people did get a little belligerent when told that they needed to put a mask on. So it was a little bit difficult, and ultimately the decision was made to, okay, we're still going to have appointments, but the door is going to go back to being locked. So if you call and ask for an appointment, you can come in, but we're not going to have the door open, and to the extent that things can still be handled by, with the drop box, et cetera, we're going to continue with that. We can, I suppose, revisit this in a few weeks' time.
And of course, we've been busy right along. It hasn't slowed us down at all.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Not at all.
The amount of pools, I mean, you can't blame people. It's no other real activities
else
to be
do they have to
done.
do?
So, I mean, we have been getting, I told Pat that they're all kind of conflating in my head, all the pools that have that we've got applications for. So the pool business are doing well.
All the constructions and the home stuff. I drive by a equipment rental, like small excavators and tractors and company every day, and their lot is empty. The stuff, as soon as the stuff comes in, it goes right back out.
We're doing a lot of pools, a lot of roofs.
Yes.
And if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, it's usually a zoo.
Well, I think people finally decided they're not doing vacations, so they're gonna put their money into the houses, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good thing.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to go into a executive session and to invite in, Stacy and Pat? And we'll discuss the, legal issues there.
Make a motion to go into executive session, invite in Stacy and Pat
8:02,
at 8:02.
is there a second?
Joe Hart, second.
Thank you. Elizabeth Jamison, how do you vote?
Elizabeth Jamison, aye.
Joe Hartz, how do you vote?
Joe Hart's aye.
Tom Mueller, how do you vote?
Tom Mueller, aye.
Bill Guerrera, how do you vote?
Bill Cabrera, aye.
And Ralph Sloan also votes aye, so that motion carries unanimously. So Stace, you want to shut off the recording and the live stream?
Yep. Just give me a second.